All right, if you're an educator, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The arrival of AI in our schools has felt like this giant wave. It's exciting, sure, but also kind of terrifying, and it's left a lot of us just scrambling to find our footing. So today, we're going to cut right through that chaos. We're going to find our compass.
You know, this quote just nails it, doesn't it? This isn't about some new app or another piece of software. We're talking about a huge shift in how we even think about technology. It's not just a tool anymore, it's an apprentice. So let's be real for a second. Does this feel familiar? This feeling of being pulled in a million directions by the potential and, the panic? It is a lot, and it's enough to make anyone feel overwhelmed. But trust me, you are definitely not alone in this.
Okay, so to get our bearings in this new world, we first have to totally reframe how we think about AI. We have to see that this isn't just another tool in the toolbox. This is a new kind of cognitive partner.
Think about it. For decades, the tech in our classrooms, everything from calculators to Google, was all about helping us manage knowledge. It was a tool, plain and simple. But generative AI, it's completely different. It helps us create knowledge. It's a partner, an apprentice, a sparring partner you can bounce ideas off of, and that right there is the game changer.
So with all this turbulence, the big temptation is to do one of two things, right? Either you ban AI out of fear, or you just adopt everything you see just to keep up. But let's be honest, neither of those is a real strategy. What we really need is a compass.
And that compass? It actually comes in a form you might not expect: academic frameworks. Now, I know what you're thinking. Academic frameworks sound so dry, so theoretical. But stick with me here, because they are incredibly practical. They're like our navigational charts for making smart, deliberate, and really pedagogically sound decisions about AI.
To make all this stuff feel less abstract and a little more memorable, we're going to use one central analogy. So let's step inside a professional chef's kitchen. I want you to think of these frameworks as different chapters in a chef's big training manual. First up, you've got the psychology chapter. This is all about the why a chef even decides to try some new, complicated ingredient. Then you've got the culinary technique chapter, the how of actually using that ingredient to make an amazing dish. And finally, the kitchen culture chapter, how that new technique or ingredient spreads to the rest of the kitchen staff. So, let's put this analogy to work. Each part of our chef's guide gives us a different lens, a specific academic framework to help us understand and actually lead this change in our schools.
Our first lens comes from that psychology chapter. It's called the Technology Acceptance Model, or TAM for short, and it's actually super simple. A chef basically asks two questions about a new ingredient. One, is it useful? Like, is it actually going to make my dish better? And two, is it easy to use, or is it going to be a massive headache? It's that basic cost-benefit analysis that, honestly, we all do in our heads.
Okay, next up is the technique lens, which is known as TPAC. See, it's not enough to just decide to use a new ingredient. You need the skill, the art, to integrate it perfectly. TPAC is all about that artful blend, blending the technology, that's our new ingredient, with the content, that's the recipe, and the pedagogy, which is the cooking method. True mastery, you see, is in the blend. And this cheat sheet right here, this pulls it all together. It shows you how each framework helps us ask a different, really important question. We just touched on TAM and TPAC, but you can see how these other lenses help us think about stuff like community resources or how new ideas actually spread through a school. It's really a complete toolkit for understanding change.
All right, so enough with the theory. How does this actually help us? Well, these frameworks give us a practical playbook for tackling the real-world barriers we are all facing right now.
Let's start with the big one, the elephant in the room, the fear of cheating. It is, without a doubt, the #1 concern for so many educators. You know the question. If students can just use ChatGPT to write the entire essay, then what is the point? And that is a legitimate, profound question.
So how do our frameworks help with this? Well, first, we grab our TPAC lens, and we use it to redesign our assessments. Instead of just grading the final paper, we make the process the product. We can actually assess the conversation a student has with the AI. Then, we use our UTOUT lens, and this reminds us that one teacher changing things isn't enough. We need clear, school-wide integrity policies to create the right support and context for everybody.
Okay, the next massive hurdle is teacher workload and confidence. I mean, everyone is telling teachers you should be using AI, but teachers are already stretched so thin, and they just don't feel equipped. This leads to that feeling of low confidence and, frankly, a reluctance to even start.
Our playbook gives us a way forward.
The UTAUT lens tells us to focus training on AI tools that immediately save teachers time. That's how you get buy-in. Then we pull from social cognitive theory. This means building confidence through hands-on practice and showcasing success stories from colleagues people actually trust. Because, as diffusion theory tells us, seeing a peer you respect succeed is the single most powerful way to spread an innovation.
But here's the thing, and this might be the most important takeaway from all of this. The goal can't just be to get people to use AI anymore. That bar is way too low. We have to aim higher.
The new standard for success, the new goal, is an integration that is critical, ethical, and sustainable. Let me put it this way. A school that has widespread, uncritical use of AI just to get tasks done has failed. But a school that's engaged in a thoughtful, ongoing conversation about how to use AI to augment human intelligence and foster deeper learning, that's a school that is succeeding.
And that brings us to the final question, the one I want you to take back to your team. Is your school just reacting to the chaos of AI, or are you responding with a plan? By using these frameworks as your compass, you can build a thoughtful, pedagogically grounded strategy. And believe me, that choice is going to define the future of learning for your students. Thanks so much for joining me.